So Ashley, is Rick joining us tonight or,
No, just me tonight.
okay. And let's see, we have Jay, we have Portia, we have Josh, we have me and Chris and Mr. Richmond and John Ludwig and Desiree. So I think the gang's all here.
Mhm.
So John, do you want to start the meeting?
Yes, it's being recorded.
It is the planning board meeting of May 12th. Rich Whitty is unable to join us this evening, and we are here to review the Overton subdivision application. And with that, Ashley, do you think it just makes sense to, I don't know if you can put it up, but sort of just walk through the final document so that everybody's on board with all the pieces of it? I don't know if there's things that you think that the applicant should address in advance of that, but I just think it's worth walking through things so that everybody
Sure.
sees all the pieces.
I can share
Certainly.
that document if you like, Ashley, unless you have it there.
Oh, if you have it up, that would be great.
How's that look?
That is getting up there big enough for us to see. And we are at the final stage of the amended resolution of approval. And so this is all of the content that's going to be going into that. So Ashley, if you would just walk us through this, please.
Sure. So the subdivision was approved back in 2019, and since then, there were certain things on the plans that were identified as easements, but weren't really easements. They were private water and sewer laterals for the private individual homes. So there was no easement required for those, but the resolution did require those actually be easements. So that's one of the main things that's being done by this resolution. To get rid of those. Actually, I could start, I guess, as John has up there, the plans. If he scrolls down just a little bit. So I did revise all the plan sheets to be consistent with the most current plan set. So the plans have been revised. Carl Stone and I have been working with the applicant's consultants on some issues with the easement and making sure the descriptions are all consistent. And also Carl asked that they be modified a little to give some extra additional, to make them additionally longer in some instances. So those issues are all still, they're almost all hammered out. Will likely be another revision to the plan sets to finalize in accordance with Carl's latest comments, but these are the most up-to-date plans that incorporated a lot of the changes that have been required thus far. And then I could take you to the first change. And these are all changes again from the resolution that was adopted in 2019. So on page, just go back. Might have missed something here.
Just tell me, Ashley, to scroll up or scroll
Bear with
down. We're in
me.
between page 3 and
Rolling is getting a little. Okay, so the first item is on page 7. And that is specific condition number 5. John, are you able to show the red line version? Or do you not have that?
I have what you sent me, I think after 4 o'clock today, approximately.
Yeah, I think it's if you could stop sharing, maybe I'll share instead, because I think it's because you have an older version of Word. It doesn't show up in the version I have. You could actually see easily what the changes are.
All right, then, do you want to share your screen?
Sure. Let me know when everyone could see that.
Yes.
Okay. So here in specific condition number 5, this was a requirement that the applicant get a nationwide permit 12 and permit 29 from the Army Corps of Engineers for certain wetland disturbance that's happening on a few of the lots. And after speaking with their attorney this afternoon, the Army Corps has actually issued what's known, it's an authorization where they've asked for the permit, they've applied for it, and I believe it's 45 days passes without them responding. So then they just simply give them the authorization to proceed as it was proposed in the plan. So if anything changes, then they'll have to go back and get Army Corps reauthorization or apply for a permit at that time. But that's why we've modified this language so that they're not so limited that they have to get a permit that the Army Corps is not going to be ultimately giving them. The next change here, paragraph 35, the same, to address the same issue, we just added or other authorization after we're talking about the Army Corps permits. I'll keep jumping around here. Arrows are not working. Okay. The next one, for some of the easements that are required prior to signing the subdivision plat, one of them was utility easements. There was a lot more utility easements. It was A through O. And those we learned are not all actually utility easements that the planning board would want to see and approve. So the ones that are being removed from this list were either the private water or sewer lines on the individual homes that I mentioned earlier. There was also a drainage easement to Tuxedo Park School. That Tuxedo Park School has confirmed they don't require that, they don't need that. So that's been removed as well. And there were some O&R easements that were also listed in here as drainage easements, but they were really O&R easements. Dan, did I miss anything there?
I don't think so, Chris, if you see anything, but I think
Nope.
that looks all in line, Ashley.
That's correct.
And then the remaining, okay, so this condition has been deleted that would require Orange County Department of Health to give realty subdivision approval. So that was something that was in there, but because of the size of the lots, it's something that the Orange County Department of Health doesn't approve. It's any subdivisions of 5 acres, or I'm sorry, of 5 lots or more, but a certain amount of acreage, and you exceed that acreage, so they determined that they are not going to be approving that. Again, just adding here, these next conditions are all the individual lot deed restrictions for all the individual lots. So as part of the approval, there's going to be this restriction filed for each of the deeds saying all of the various other approvals that the specific lot is subject to and what they have to agree with. They're all very, they vary. A lot of them overlap, but some of them are unique to the specific lot. Some of them require certain landscaping. Some of them require height restrictions, things like that. So for the ones that require that Army Corps permit, we added in or authorization just to cover that situation I discussed earlier. And also we took out the utility easements that were not required. So this one was a private lateral, so we had taken that out from the lot 1 deed restriction. The same for lot 2. We took out what was being called easements, but were really not easements, just the private lines. Same thing for 3. For lot 4, that also requires the Army Corps, so we added the authorization in there. Same thing for lot 5. For lot 5, we also took out the shared maintenance agreement for the stormwater basin on lot 4. Originally, lot 5 was going to be using that stormwater basin as well, but that was ultimately removed, and lot 5, it's my understanding they have their own stormwater basin now, so they're no longer required to share with Lot 4, so they're not going to be part of that agreement. Again, just took out some of the, what was being called utility easements, but weren't really things the planning board was requiring as utility easements. And same over here for Lot 9. And at the end, and I added just a standard condition because as Carl's still reviewing these final easements, issues just that he'll be, signing off on that before the plans are signed.
Ashley, just one thing that occurred to me as we were going through this, do we need to put in a date certain that this is extended to, like when it'll expire? I mean, I think between us and our conversations, we're hoping we can wrap this up in the next couple of weeks.
So what I was going to suggest that before the planning board consider the resolution to first extend the original, so extend the conditional approval for another 90 days, which would be to July 28th, and then approve the amended resolution.
Wouldn't 90 days get us to August? I'm sorry.
But the way we always do it to the planning board meeting date. So that's the meeting right before that August date.
We should get this done before then.
Yeah, I mean, we're really in the.
The only other comment I'd offer, Ashley, is that, hey, the plan sets, you've referenced them as they currently appear. The date will change when we provide you the final submittal, just so that there's no confusion there.
Yeah, so and in the resolution, it does provide for that. When at the beginning, it says it's being granted approval only consistent with the plans and submittals that are previously set forth, or as they're going to be revised as required by this resolution.
Perfect.
And does did the DEC rattlesnake study that is still outstanding, does that tie to this? It's independent of it?
So that's a requirement of the DEC permit, and what the subdivision resolution requires before you can sign the plans, before they could file, is that they get that DEC permit. So
before, say that again, please.
So they were required to get the DEC permit before you could sign the plans, which they have gotten. It's just something then the DEC is requiring that study to be done as part of that permit.
Okay, so but the permit has been issued subject to an additional contingency.
Yes, is that correct, Dan?
Contingency is the right word. It's we're required to perform
As part
a
of the
study
permit.
pursuant to the conditions of the permit.
There's several things we need to do to satisfy the permit conditions, and that's one of them. That study will, just so everybody knows, study will be underway. We've engaged the consultant that we've been speaking about within the EIS, et cetera, Dr. Gibbs from ESF, and this is kind of for John and or neighbors, that you'll be seeing them out there, and I'll make sure that they're communicating to you. I think they've been out doing some field work, but they'll be out placing cameras in the next week or 2 weeks.
And where are they placing the cameras?
They are on trees on state, the parklands.
Okay.
On I think it's on Pawtucket.
Yeah, because the permit references Long Meadow Road.
Yeah, it's long. It is. It's the camera placements are subject to DEC approval, and that they're negotiating not negotiating, but they've agreed to those locations, and so.
Okay, because I would just point out Long Meadow Road is not within the park.
Right. Not to get too far off the path, the DEC is requiring this work not for the project specific per se, but to benefit the species. And that's where they think the study should be performed in order to benefit the species. That's where they think the higher incidence of snake kills.
Right. Yep. Just wanted to clarify that.
No, I appreciate that, because we always like to get backstopped on that kind of stuff. Okay,
so basically the permit has been granted. It still has various contingencies for its final execution, but the permit is in a state where it can be tied to this and we can move forward. Ashley, that would be correct?
Yeah, so the permit's been issued, and as part of that permit, these are things they're required to do. So they have to comply with all the approved plans, things like that. So it lists of various different things. One of them is that they do have to, they have to do this study, just like they're limited in tree removal to a certain time of the year. So they're bound by that, but that's not gonna, we won't know that's happened until until they actually go to do the clearing. So it's something that they're bound to by the terms of the permit.
I think importantly for this board, one of the things that's also part of the DEC permit is the establishment or requirement that we file a declaration protecting the resource protection areas that we've discussed with your board.
Right. And those will be reflected on the deeds of the
Yes.
individual lots.
It's going to be recorded, right? Yes, on each of the deeds.
So does anybody have any questions about the content of the resolution of approval? Hearing none then, I guess the next step should be may I have a motion that we will extend, how should we phrase it, Ashley? Are we
Motion,
extending to the 28th?
a motion to extend final conditional subdivision approval to July 28th, 2021 for
And
the
can I have
Overton project.
So may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So we've extended to the 28th. And then, Ashley, at this point, is it appropriate to vote on the actual resolution of approval?
Yes, so that would be a motion to approve the amended resolution of approval, preliminary and final subdivision for John Overton. And I would just ask that if we could do a roll call count on
Okay,
on that.
all right. So may I have a first on that motion, please?
I'll first.
And second?
Second.
All right, and so I'll start. I vote in favor of the resolution. Jay,
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Josh,
I am, yes.
and Portia.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the planning board members who are present. And a quorum.
And a quorum. And a majority of the board, all the things that it has to be.
Yay.
That is what we turn to Ashley for.
So I will I'll finalize that resolution, Joanne, and get it over to you and John so that you could sign it whenever you're able to, and then we'll continue to work out these final details and let you know once it's time to sign the actual plan set.
Okay, and so we've extended to the 28th. What would be the things that would have us all back together again on the 28th?
So it would
If
only
anything.
be if we couldn't get everything, which I don't see happening. I think there's a couple of easements we're working out language on. Rick and I are going to get those to the applicant. The individual lot declarations, we're going to modify a little bit because of the Army Corps authorization versus the permit, just to account for that. I don't know if Carl's on. No, I don't believe Carl's
I
on.
don't think he is.
But I know, and Chris could maybe speak a little to that, but I know he was working out, he had a few final comments on the easements.
Yeah, it was just the boundaries of the easements, and when we changed the boundaries of those easements, it changed the legal descriptions, and we've done the mapping work, and we'll share that, and that will update the legal descriptions.
Well, on the assumption that this may be our final time together, although ultimately then the lots are sold and then we all get back together to
Yeah.
the individual lots. It's been a long process, and I think we have worked together with the applicant to do a very thorough review to set this property up for its subdivision approval, which has occurred this evening. So I thank everybody for all their efforts.
And we'd like to thank you, Madam Chair, and all the members of the planning board, and Ashley and Desiree and John for all their help. And again, as Ashley said, hopefully, I think we're going to be able to get this signed in the next few weeks, and we'll see you at site plan review.
Although I will mention that John and I walked the old driveway and there are some drainage areas that need covering up. So creatures, children, etc., do not fall into them.
Before you joined, Madam Chair, John and I spoke of that, and I know the client has had his consultant, Mr. Wicks. I don't know if anyone else is familiar with him, and I think John, he had advised you that he was going to put grates over those areas.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
being taken care of, Joanne.
Okay, super, because obviously we want it to be in good condition and we have passed the point of tree cutting according to the permits. Well, thank you, everybody. Anything else, Ashley, that we need to, I have to say, part of my work is on the UN Principles for Responsible Investing Reporting report, and that was due this week. And so I have not reviewed minutes to share with you all. I hit that button to submit to the UN. So that will be, we will get together at a later point. I promise I will get to them. So,
Nothing else from me, just whenever you're ready, just to a motion to adjourn and
all right, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I
But we're
see.
having so much fun. I move we adjourn.
I like these short meetings.
And I will second, and all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, well,
Thank you very much.
thank you for all the work by everybody, and have a good spring and summer, and hopefully we won't all be back here July 28th, continuing this project on.
I will say July 28th, I'm at my house in Colorado.
Oh, that sounds good.
We are currently off the grid.
Ah, Well then, so that gives
taking
you even further incentive.
a lot of
Added
time
incentive for us
off.
to
So
get
if
this
we're
done.
en route or whatever, because we're not sure of the dates, but I know most of the month will be there. So
Yeah, and I think Josh is contemplating other endeavors. So anyway, thank you all, and
Thank you.
we can
good night.
bid good night.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.